Welcome to the ProSoft webinar, A360 Collaboration for Revit. Thank you for taking the time to review this remarkable new Autodesk product. We like to frame the evolution of BIM in terms of yesterday and tomorrow. While we think of this on many different dimensions, today we are going to talk about BIM's evolution from locally collaborative to socially shared. When it comes to major building projects, there are many stakeholders. The power of BIM is the information. This visualization illustrates the numerous stakeholders that put information in, as well as need to get information out of a model throughout the life cycle of a project. Current methods of collaboration require hardware and personnel to maintain that hardware. Both can be costly resources when problems arise. How do you currently share the model within and outside your company? The current collaboration method has the model behind the firewall of a company's network, or project models are being shared via cloud-based data sharing sites such as Dropbox or Google Drive. This has resulted in a workflow in which all team members are working off of old data from their colleagues, creating new issues while solving existing ones. With A360 Collaboration for Revit, the model lives in the cloud. There are three main benefits to Autodesk customers. This allows multiple firms to collaborate in real time on the same set of Revit models across multiple networks. As this is a cloud service, there is no IT setup required. All the hardware and personnel required to maintain the cloud is on Autodesk's shoulders. Simply start up a project, add models and team members, and everybody can get started. In facilitating this collaboration, Autodesk has moved the place of record for the Revit BIM from inside the WAN to inside the Autodesk cloud. And with the model already in the cloud, other cloud-based services, like rendering, require less time to process. Your local system becomes the accelerator. Changes to the linked models are prefetched in both directions up to and down from the cloud, requiring less synchronization time. Only the changes to the models are pushed back and forth between the local and central files, smaller data packages versus the entire model. It's like a dripping faucet versus a fire hose. Revit is a wonderful design tool, but was not designed as a communication tool. With so many communication tools available on the market, Autodesk studied the advantages and disadvantages of each. In the end, Autodesk wanted to have consistency and have the ability to communicate while sharing the same context. Autodesk built its own communication tool from the ground up to enable multi-firm real-time communication, contextual awareness, and integrated a Revit work-sharing activity feed. So let's think about everything that is involved in taking a project from concept to reality. Autodesk has typically served these people, designers and engineers. But if you think about it, there are all kinds of other people that contribute to making the whole project happen. And all of these people use different tools. And all of those tools create different artifacts and kinds of data. And all the conversations, activities, and decisions that happen, which, if they are captured, create even more stuff to keep track of. Dealing with all of this is time-consuming and inefficient. What's been missing is good infrastructure to manage all of this. So the new Autodesk 360 places the project at the center, connecting people, data, and activities in a single location. organizes and provides access to all project information, not just design data, offers a great user experience on every device, bringing this information to the full project team, not just for designers, but for everyone. A360 enables design and engineering-centric project teams to work efficiently together in one central workspace. Now let's take a look at Collaboration for Revit in action. So here we are in Revit 2016, and I'm just going to show a few of the new additions, a few of the new tools that they've added with the Collaboration for Revit add-in. So the first thing I want to point out is here on your splash screen, it looks like normal with the exception of on the projects that are hosted on the cloud, you have this little A360 icon in the thumbnail. And if you go to the Open Projects tool, you also have the A360 icon in your places. And if you select on that, it's going to pull up a list of all of the projects that you have been invited to. So I'm going to go into this medical center project. And once this is open, you now can see all of the live cloud-based central files that have been uploaded to the project. And just like with other projects, you can audit as you open, but you'll notice that Detach from Central and Create New Local are grayed out. And this is because you cannot detach you cannot create a detached copy from the cloud model through Revit. I will show you how to do it through the desktop, but it is disabled through the Revit, and creating a local file is done behind the scenes. It's kind of that Wizard of Oz, don't look behind the curtain thing, because it separates your local file into a series of caches as opposed to a Revit project. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up the architectural model. We'll just give this a few seconds to do that. Okay, so here we've opened up the project file, and just to show you really quick, here's my default 3D view. Now opening up this file only took less than a minute. Okay, so with the collaboration comes a series of new tools, the first of which is the Communicate panel. Now this is a panel that floats independent of your Revit application. It does not dock, so if you have two screens and you want to push it off to the side, this gives that ability. If you close your communicator by accident, you can always just go back over here to the communicator tool and turn it back on, and it'll pop right back up. And if you're signed into Revit, it will sign you in automatically to the A360 communicator. So up here, this first icon, this is your list of projects. It tells me which project you are currently in. I'm in my medical center, and I am in the architectural model. I also have a colleague, Bryson Anderson, who is in the structural model in the medical center, and I will demonstrate in a few moments how to do a live chat screen capture sharing session with a colleague. Up here, you can send an instant message to the entire team. So regardless of what their capacity, you can send out an instant message, and if they are not currently logged in, this chat window will turn orange to indicate to them that they have a message waiting for them when they log into Revit. And you can also send out an email message to the entire project. And the benefit of doing it this way through Outlook creating a group is that I do not have to maintain their contact information. their contact information is hosted in their profile. So they will maintain their own contact information. I don't have to worry about it. Okay, this next tab is the Contacts tab, and this can be organized however you like. These are the default settings: frequent contacts, people that you regularly are chatting with. You can right-click and create a category, or you can add a contact, so you can customize this communicator to suit your individual needs. The chat window, like I said, this will give you a history of all of the chat sessions you've had with various people on various projects. It'll give you an entire list of all of your chat sessions. So if I go here, and since Bryson is online, I'm going to have a quick chat with him. So it looks like just a few minutes ago he had sent me this picture of the structure regarding the footings. So I can send back to him and say, no, we need to larger footings. Paint before soil. So I'm just having a real-time chat with him. I need to send him some information, and I'm just going to pick this, the health center signage. Now, one thing I want to show you here with the chat window is there's these 4 buttons. The first button allows you to attach an image file. So let's say you've pulled a image file, a JPEG, off of the internet, and you want to share it with a team member of how something should look, or what something is going to be, like a Bobrick hand dryer or whatever. They can be JPEG, BMPs, or PNGs, but you can just add a image file and copy it into them. Here is the screen capture tool. So instead of going over here to my snipping tool that I've had for years, I go to my screen capture, just start the tool, I drag my cursor to form a box, and just hit capture, and then I'll type, we need to put a foundation slab underneath this sign. So I've sent him that message, and I can just move along and not worry about it. Oh, looks like I have a chat message that came up for the entire medical team. Need Excellent, and I've already communicated with my structural engineer, being played by Bryson, and I didn't even have to pick up the phone or send an email. He knows exactly what I'm talking about, what I need him to do, and so we're having that instant in-context communication. Okay, now this third button is sending a file, and this can be any other file type, and I believe that there is no limit to the file size, so you could send a Revit file across the chat window. It could be a Word document of door hardware, who knows, whatever. But instead of going out to email, I can send this information directly through my chat session. And then this last button will export a text file of the entire chat history. So it's a great accountability tool to keep a record of who agreed to what task and what due dates. It also will hold all members of the team accountable for what they say. And let me just address this. Okay, so my proposed rescheduled time for the meeting has been agreed on. Awesome. Okay, this last tab is my timeline, and so this will give me a record of who has synchronized in the files. So I'm going to take my candidates. I need something I can manipulate. There we go. So I'm going to edit the text of my signage and make it all caps. And then I'm going to go back to my 2D page and synchronize. And my communicator is going to show me that I am currently synchronizing, and if there's an error with the synchronization, it will give me that error. Otherwise, it'll tell me, it'll give me the green check mark that everything is okie dokie. And that only took less than a minute. Pretty sweet. All right, one of the other tools added is this Manage A360 Models. Now this tool can be activated whether or not you are in a project. So I'm just going to go in here to my medical center, and this is where you have a lot of control over the live Revit models in the project. So as I highlight over each of the models, I get different buttons. When it's a green check mark button, that means that the published version, which is the archived copy that is loaded onto, that you can access through the desktop version, is current. It matches what is behind the Revit curtain. When it is a blue box with an arrow, it means that it is no longer the latest published copy. So both my structural and my architectural models need to be published if I want to have a current record of my models in the cloud. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit the publish button. And this message tells me that I can continue working. I don't need to stay here. This Actions button allows me to rename files or relinquish all of my my elements. But the most important thing I wanted to show is this View Versions. So every time someone synchronizes to the file, it creates a new version. But as far as we know, there are no limits on the number of versions or the size of the Revit file. So you can have a 500 megabyte file saved 500 times, and Autodesk will save every iteration all the way back to the first upload to the cloud. Now this Restore button, if you click that, it gives you a double warning. It asks you to make sure that you are going to be getting rid of any subsequent version, and have you also notified all of the team members, because as soon as you restore a backup, their connection from their local file to the central gets severed, and they are no longer able to work. They will have to close down and reopen a new local. So that's why it's a double warning, to make sure that you've made sure the entire project team knows what's going on. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to go back out to my medical center. So now my architectural model is now published along with the furniture and MEP. I won't do it with structural. I will let the structural team do that themselves. All right, this last tool, Views for A360. What this tool enables you to do is control which views the published copy gets to see. So by default, it is the default 3D view and any sheets. But you can go in and control which views. You can create a view set, essentially, just like a print set or an export set. You can create a set of views that will be what owners and other members of the team, people that don't have access to Revit, can look at in your model. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel out of that. Now we're going to switch over to the desktop version. So I'm going to open up my A360 account. And if I go up here to my face, my profile, it gives me a list of all of the project hubs that I have accessed through. So I'm going to open up my ProSoft Team Hub, which is where my medical center project is located. And you'll notice that this page is set up very much like a social networking site. This is the activity page, it's your dashboard, your splash screen. I can search up here for Revit files and get a list of objects within all of these projects that follow under this category. I'm going to go into my medical center project, and again it lands on my news feed, so it gives me all of the information going on in my project, who's on my team, recent uploads, recent activity, my data folder. This is where I load and add data to the project other than my live Revit Central files. And these Revit files here, these RVT files, these are the archived published copies that I was doing earlier in Revit. And one of the great things about this desktop is this is basically an agnostic file reader. This reader will open 200 different file types without having the application. So let's say you want to open up a SketchUp model and it just doesn't exist. Well, you can open up a SketchUp model through this viewer. I can open up this conceptual model that I just uploaded, happen to have and the navigation is pretty simple. So with a 5-minute tutorial, you can teach your owners to navigate your models for review, for comment, or just for their pleasure. You can open up, like I said, 200 different file types. So CAD files. I can even open up a Excel spreadsheet in the browser without having to open up Excel, and then save back to my data folder. So I can make live changes in here. All right. One of the other features I want to show you about opening these files. Let me try a different one. So while this is opening, these are your comments. So comments that are made in the browser, those comments get posted to the news feed, and any comment that I click on will take me to the view in which that comment was made. So I can go here to this view. I can even spin around, zoom in. To increase these. There's no auto spell. I can't spell on a laptop. Alright, so I've added a comment, although I don't know why it went to another view. Anyway, it's acting a little slow right now. So while this is processing, you'll notice that I can select objects. These are not just PDFs, but these are actual, this is Revit geometry. And down here I have my properties panel. So if I select an object, it tells me all of the parameters of that object, including its element ID, so I can have a real conversation with whoever generated this model, and I can talk very specifically about the different properties of objects. I seem to be having a slight network issue right now. Okay, in this Actions tab, here is where I can download a copy. It creates a detached copy of the model, or I can download copies of files or folders. So I can download this information to my own company's server. So here's a list of all of the files that have been made available for view through the A360 Views button. I can switch between one sheet to the next, and if the 3D view were listed, it would be at the top of the list. So I want to get back to a model that has a 3D view. Now some of the tools down here allow me to navigate the model. So if I click on the pair of shoes, I can very quickly do a walkthrough of the model and get different perspectives. Go back to my home view. This explode tool will actually pull the model apart. And even pulled apart, I can select an object and get information on that object. And with the project browser, I can actually start eliminating I can isolate rather than eliminate objects. Even down to very specific sizes, even down to an individual. So those are some of the quick navigation and exploration tools that can be used in the desktop version. The people page gives another list of all of the people in the project. You can invite people to the project. You can upload data Through any of these pages, you can create a new project or create a message, the calendar. You can create events in the project calendar that will be distributed to the A360 calendars of your team members. You can export these calendars to Outlook and other web-based calendar services. These wiki pages, you can create individual information, how to start a project, who to contact in the event of a problem. Anything you can think of, these are your pages. So back to the project page. That will be the end of our Revit demonstration. Let's get back to the presentation. So, what does Collaboration Revit do for you? Access the project data, enhance communication, connect the entire team. Here is some quick information on what you get from the 3 levels of access within A360. With the free A360 account, you get 5 gigabytes of free data storage, or 25 gigabytes per subscription seat. And you have access to view and comment on data files. With A360 Team, you get an additional 10 gigabytes per person, which can be pooled to create a larger data storage site for your project. And you have access to view, comment, and contribute data to the project. With A360 Collaboration for Revit, you get unlimited data storage for your Revit files, and A360 Team is included with that subscription. And your access gives you access to the Revit models and the ability to view, comment, and contribute other data. For information on pricing, please contact our sales staff at ProSoft. Thank you for your participation today. It is our pleasure to serve the architectural, engineering, and construction communities and support your technical needs.